Coming soon to a Big Ten arena near you, the Illinois Fighting Illini Vitches.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. This is a breaking news edition, so let me know if the audio is working okay. I had to change a couple things around real quick. Let me know in the chat real quick if you can hear me. I would sincerely appreciate it, and I can continue going just while I'm here. This edition is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Thank you, Philip. Okay, so again, breaking news, rapid reaction, because we found out about an hour-ish ago, maybe an hour and a half ago, that Illinois, out of nowhere, landed the commitment of European MVP candidate Mihailo Petrovic. I think I nailed that one on the first time. I usually never get the name right. Obviously, all of Illini Nation is kind of standing on edge. We're waiting to hear possibly what happens with Andrej Stojakovic. We know he's on campus, and we're just kind of waiting to get an update to see how things are going, whether he becomes that big fish that this Illinois team obviously needs. But it's not the only thing that this Illinois team needs. I've talked about this. This Illinois needs, they need a starting small forward, they need a starting shooting guard, and they probably need at least one more rotational guard. And out of nowhere, and I truly do mean out of nowhere, I don't know a single person who reported anything about Mihailo Petrovic coming to Illinois. I looked through my notes when this commitment was announced, and I actually had his name down, but as someone that was going to go to the Wisconsin Badgers. So this was a player that the Wisconsin Badgers were kind of counting on, and so much so this was the quote that I had in my notes. "The plan is for me to come to the University of Wisconsin," Petrovic said. "Right now, I don't have any sure information, but I think and hope that I will become a part of the Badgers family." Well, Mr. Petrovic, I can do you one better. Welcome to the Illini family. By the way, as we continue to get started, make sure you hit the like button on this video. Every time we hit the like button, especially while I'm live and recording, something good happens. So let's keep that up. Who knows? We might have that Andrej Stojakovic commitment while we're recording, and who knows? I'll just cancel my plans for the rest of the day and just keep doing rapid reactions. So now you probably tuned in trying to learn a little bit more about Mr. Petrovic. I'm going to be completely honest with you. This recruitment was out of nowhere. So if you're looking for in-depth analysis, stay tuned for tomorrow's episode of Locked On Illini, where I get to dig a little deeper into his tape. I'm going to give you kind of like an overview version of an episode right now. More so, I wanted to go to the opinions of people I trust. And if you're an everydayer in here, you know exactly who I'm talking about. My number one when it comes to foreign prospects, and let's be honest, with Illinois over the last couple of years, he's basically been my go-to guy for any prospect because that's all we seem to want to recruit. But Armand, let me try to find that tweet real quick. Of course, now I can't find it. Okay, let's go to another one. Joe Jackson, who does the Inside the Paint, I believe it's that YouTube channel. When talking about this Jonathan Givony quote, this was a tweet actually. PG Mihailo Petrovic has committed to Illinois. Agent Misko Raznatovic told ESPN. The 22-year-old Serbian is an MVP candidate in the Adriatic League, ranking second in assists, averaging 7.3 per game, and top 10 in scoring, averaging 14.3 points per game. Big pickup for Brad Underwood. This was Joe's reaction to this. Number one, insanely good get for Illinois. And number two, it's wild that a 22-year-old MVP candidate in probably a top 10 league in the world will have NCAA eligibility. Point number one, love it. Fantastic. Love to hear it. Point number two, the fact that he's going to have NCAA eligibility, you're surprised by that? Not my problem. Look, Illinois has already dealt with enough about when it comes to eligibility issues. If one happens to go our way, I'm completely okay with it. Now, this was Armin's scouting report. I finally found it. What is Illinois getting in Mihailo Petrovic? Illinois lands one of the best and oldest available prospects on the board with 6'3", 22-year-old Petrovic. Petrovic has elite quickness, finishing, and playmaking chops that will quickly make him one of the best guards in the Big Ten. I'm going to repeat that over again. Will make him one of the best guards in the Big Ten. Petrovic currently averages 13.7 points per game and 7.2 assists a game. And Brad now adds his fourth different prospect from the Balkan regions. It's kind of becoming a joke now, but now we just need to keep going forward with it. NBA Draft Point says Illinois picks up one of the best players in the ABA in 22-year-old Mihailo Petrovic. This guy says 6-foot point guard, has been the leader for Mega this year, averaging 14.3 points per game, 7.3 assists per game, 2.8 rebounds per game, yada, yada, yada. That's enough stats. You didn't come here to look at stats. You can Google that on your own. Now, when this immediately happened, a lot of people in the Talk Illini Discord, again, it basically blew up. I think I had 65 people online at the same time, all talking about this recruitment. By the way, the link is in the description to our Discord if you want to have conversations with Illini fans all day, every day. I think we're up to almost over 250 members in it, believe it or not. But the conversation came up. Is this in any sort of way related to the Andrej Stojakovic recruitment? And for that, I can pretty definitively say no. Those are two completely different paths. Look, Andrej is going to be a 3, and he's the alpha that this team needs. But this team needed a starting 3, but it also needs a starting 2. And a lot of us have been waiting for whether or not Adam Miller was going to come to Champaign. And as that recruitment kind of continues to drag, I think we can all kind of get the vibe that one's probably not going to go our way. If it was going to happen, it would have happened immediately. But as has been the case with a lot of these recruitments for Illinois, it seems like Brad's had trouble, closing the deal. And the longer that recruitment process takes, sure enough, the player tends to go in a different direction. That's why, honestly, locking down Stojakovic on this trip is so incredibly important. Again, Petrovic, I'm going to confuse these names. I promise I'm going to try my best not to. Seemingly came out of nowhere. Again, he was a prospect who I had the Badgers interested in. Petrovic can come in here and play the Adam Miller role, right? They're the same size, 6'3". Adam Miller's more of a 3-point shooter. The film that I did watch of Petrovic, I dropped it in the Discord. I'll try to remember to add it to the description in here later. He's not much of a 3-point shooter. He shot an okay percent at 34%. But, in today's day and age where everyone shoots 5+ 3-pointers, he really didn't take all that many. What he is, though, is what Adam Miller isn't. Adam Miller, I'll give him credit on the defensive end. That's also one of the reasons you wanted to bring Adam in. But Petrovic brings in something that I think this team sorely needed. And I'm going to go deeper into this tomorrow. If Petrovic is your starting shooting guard, like a lot of people are saying, again, I can't say this and I can't say it with a whole lot of confidence because I'd be lying to you guys. I didn't know who this guy really was an hour and a half ago. So I'm going to sit here and tell you everything is fine, that we found our starting shooting guard. Don't take it as my opinion, as gospel. I'm simply trusting what some of the basketball minds I trust most are saying. And if they're telling me, if Arman is telling at PDT Scouting, if you're looking for his Twitter account, again, the go-to when it comes to all international scouting. If he's telling me that he's one of the best guards in the Big Ten Conference at 22 years old, you know what? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Again, I'll get more in-depth to it myself tomorrow, but for now, I'm just taking him at his word. And so we know one of the reasons things have gone awry with Adam Miller is that seemingly his price seems to be going up and up and up and up. And something Illinois tried to secure for almost $750,000 or $800,000 a couple weeks ago now has arguably, the rumors are double that with some of what even like the Big Ten competitors are offering. And if that's the case, I almost like the idea that I'm almost sure that there's no way this kid costs as much as Adam did. That's kind of the reason Illinois has been dipping their toes in the European pool anyway. And I've talked about that on the show, that in a way, this is just Brad doing what Brad does best. When everyone zigs, he zags. So he's finding quality talent in in the European level, let me also show you a tweet from Anthony Wright while I'm talking. Again, we're waiting to hear what Stojakovic is going to do. But independent of Stojakovic, we needed a starting two guard. And I think that Illinois essentially just landed theirs. If you're wanting Adam Miller to come to Illinois, and if you're going to be upset and point fingers at Brad for not closing that one down, well, then you have to be super excited when it comes to bringing in a guy like Petrovic. I'd be a lot more nervous if he was another 17-year-old or an 18-year-old kid, because then you're like, okay, are these skills going to translate? Is this another Nico Moretti's name was brought up in our Discord. The fact that he's a grown man doing this in a grown league makes me a little bit more comfortable. Here's the tweet I was referencing earlier. Ant Wright said he got this text from an NBA scout. I think the Big Ten title has to come through Champaign. Now, I'm not saying I believe that in any sort of way. I still think Purdue is the best team in the country next year, but Illinois is starting to at least enter somewhat the conversation, if that makes sense. I'm going to get to more thoughts right after this. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. And you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Me personally, I'm spending way too much money going out to eat. I got 2 kids. I'm tired. It's easy to go get food from the fast food restaurant. I know I got to keep that in check. And with Monarch Money, instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. $187 people in here. We got 44 likes. That math is not mathing. All Illini fans are checking in on this channel. Why? Because we're excited. Let's keep those vibes up. Let's hit that like button while you're here. Again, I don't even know if I did a proper introduction. My name is Sunny Verma, your host here at Locked On Illini, where I do this stuff every single day. You get Illini content from Monday through Fridays, and I even try to throw up something there on the weekends for you. So if this is your first time in here, make sure, again, you've hit that like button, you've hit that subscribe button. Before this recording, I think I was 5 away from 3,000, which was always my goal, especially because I'm still a month shy of being 1 year at Locked On Illini. So maybe you can help me on my venture to that. Back to my original point. This team, even before Stojakovic came, needed 3 more players at the very minimum. And you figure you had maybe 4 or 5 million to spread amongst those 3. Andrej, if he decides to commit to the Illini, is going to take about half of that. At least if you believe the numbers that you're reading online. And so outside that, you still had 2 more spots to fill, and you need to kind of fill those spots efficiently. And again, if Adam Miller is going to cost you 1.5-ish, my guess is you probably got Petrovic for anywhere from 1 to 1.5. So even slightly less than Adam Miller. And the other thing is, this has got question marks, so I'm not saying this matter-of-factly. Maybe some of you guys know. With these European players, we never know what kind of eligibility issues that they have. Does Petrovic come in as a freshman? Probably not. Does he come in immediately classified as a sophomore, like Tom Slavovicic did last year? Okay. Or does he come in as a junior? All right. If it's a sophomore or junior, well, then guess what? Then maybe you're able to keep Petrovic 1 more season next year. This could be your starting guard next season. Which also, let me round up my original Adam Miller point. I liked Adam Miller as a rotational piece, but the one thing I was worried about, and my everydayers in here, please confirm that you've heard me say this before, is I like Kylan Boswell, and I can't wait to see senior season Kylan Boswell in Champaign next year. But if we're all being real with ourselves, Kylan and the team struggled when Kylan was asked to be the main playmaker for essentially the entire season minus the last month. And it seemed like the plan moving forward was to just now that KJ's gone, let Kylan be the starting point guard next season. And while, again, if he continued to play the way he did that last month of the season, fine. Kylan has the ability to be a potential all Big Ten type of point guard. But that you're kind of counting on that. Now, not so much. I was speaking with Armin in the Trilly Discord, and Armin said it himself that he can see a situation where Mihailo might actually be the starting point guard. And you have two starting point guards, kind of like what the rotation was like last year with KJ and Kylan. Although KJ was mainly the point guard, obviously, it was nice to see that you had another ball handler. All offseason long, I've been talking about, hey, I wish that we can bring in another guard piece that can do maybe a 60-40 split. Let Kylan handle it 60% of the time. Find another guy to handle it 40% of the time. And I think we may have gotten that. Now, obviously, Petrovic is not nearly the scorer KJ is, and I'm not even remotely making that comparison. I'm just trying to talk about when I see the roster pieces slowly being put together, I think that Petrovic is actually a better fit than what Adam Miller was, at least at the cost. You know, Adam Miller, we know he's going to cost you $1.5 million, and he's done after this year. Petrovic, potentially, again, it's going to probably cost you less money, and you might have another year or two. Look, Kylan Boswell is done after this season. Okay? He's, well, I guess I can't even say that with the way guys who are in their seventh years are playing for, or applying for waivers at this point. But hypothetically speaking, Kylan Boswell is going to be done with college basketball after this season. So you're going to have to find a future point guard. Maybe Petrovic is that future point guard. But, you know, that's next year. Again, I'm excited about this pickup just because of the people whose opinions I trust are excited about this pickup, whether it's Joe Jackson, whether it's Armand. You know, these guys whose opinion I trust much more than mine, because I'm being upfront with you. You tune in here so that I don't give you any, you know, I don't pull stuff out of my butt to tell you things, right? You come in here because you trust me as a source. Right now, I haven't seen enough tape. I didn't know this guy existed an hour and a half ago. I knew he was a name who was supposed to be going to the Wisconsin Badgers. So maybe check in with your Wisconsin Badgers friends and see what they think of him. Again, I will be checking in with Ryan from Locked On Badgers to see if he's got any scouting report. But overall, I think this is a great pickup as of now. Early impressions. I knew very little about him, but the more I'm reading about him, the more excited I am getting. And it just gets us closer to the finish line of what this team is going to look like. Obviously, we still need Andrej, and that's the big fish that we're waiting on. But overall, like the lineup itself, sure, it's going to have its struggles on the defensive end, but when don't we at this point? We're kind of used to that. But I like the skill sets that are being developed on the offensive. Oh, another thing, you know, unfortunately with the Visic and Mirkovic, we've talked about how, you know, while very skilled, the team wasn't very, or those guys weren't very fast, not very good on their feet. Not a problem with Petrovic. Petrovic, if you look at his film, he's a quick basketball player, one of the faster basketball players I've ever seen. He's one of those put your head down type of players and attacks through him. So he plays great on ball screens. I'm really looking forward to an offense that has Petrovic, Kylan Boswell, and Tommy Visic kind of being the three triangle playmakers, because I really think that has a sky-high ceiling. All right, as I usually do with these rapid reactions, I'll get to your thoughts right after this. $221 people watching on this Tuesday afternoon, and we got 64 likes. Let's get those up. We got to have at least 100 likes on the show before we're going to finish this up. Let's take a look at some of your comments. Philip says, ILL, Philip. Thelonious says, I think this is the playmaker we've been missing on this roster. Yeah, I agree. I like Kylan. I think Kylan's going to have a monster senior season in Champaign, but I would have rather had another guy next to him who I can also trust with the ball. Because I even discussed this. If Kylan gets into foul trouble, who's going to be handling that rock? There's nobody on our roster that can do that. And right now, having Petrovic and Kylan Boswell, those two guys can really complement each other really well. And I think Illinois has set themselves up pretty well in that regard. Jason kind of repeats what I just said. Finally have that veteran PG. Really hope all these guys can create a connection over the summer and be ready to ball. I feel like I'll be repeating myself with creating a connection every year now. It's not just us, Jason. This is the reality of college sports, unfortunately. Hopefully, in the next couple of years, something happens and there's some sort of regulation. You know, I'm not a big regulation guy, but this is anarchy, right? This is kind of a little too loosey-goosey. You got guys who've played 4 full seasons, 5 full seasons, and announcing that, you know, they're going to be entering the transfer portal and trying to get a waiver when I can't figure out how any of this is justified. Jason continues, now just need that certain 6'7" transfer to commit. Hopefully his visit went well today. You're exactly right, Jason. That's the one that all of us are kind of waiting on. Joe says, ILLVIC, the Fighting Illini bitches. I got to be careful. The Vich, the. Anthony says, University of Illinois Fighting Balkans. Yes, absolutely. Divine says, looks like he can get to the rim at will. I'm excited. Absolutely, Divine. That's kind of what I mentioned too. He puts his head down and he attacks the rim. And again, I don't know very much about this league, right? So I'm not going to sit here and pretend I do. But if Joe Jackson's telling me it's a potential about a top 10 league in the country, you got a kid at 22 years old who's contending for the MVP. What does that tell you? Again, this is a grown man league, right? So the atmosphere of a Big Ten conference is not really going to be all that intimidating compared to what the atmosphere he's probably already dealing with over there in Europe. Richard says, great win. Let's get one more. Richard, let me do you one better. Let's get 2 more. Let's get Andres into the fold, and I think we still need one more guy, especially mainly a rotational guard. I think we got enough big men. I think I like what we have at the wing spot, especially if Stojakovic comes. But we need to replace DGL at this point. One more guard to come off the bench. Tundra says, need an Adidas sponsorship at this point. Philip says, start Boswell, Rogers, Stojakovic, Mirkovic, Tommy. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. The Ty, I think, is the one that's jumping out at me now. I think the coaching staff is leaning towards starting Ty Rogers. We'll see. You know, it's just one of those. I think we heard a lot about the coaching staff wanting to start Ty Rogers last year. And I think Ty Rogers kind of read the writing on the wall and decided to redshirt. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to go. All right. A lot of people excited. Old School Fitness says, absolutely awesome. Jay says guards are going to be pretty short. Yeah, 6'3" and 6'3". I mean, that's normal college basketball level, I would argue. And when you look at every other position on the team, we've got a lot of length on this team. And so, you know, when it comes to length, I don't really think that's too much of an issue for Illinois. Philip says Underwood needs to coach in a jumpsuit. Dave says Illinois has become the American Euro League. I've got a very interesting idea that I'm going to be doing for an episode probably next week. There's just so much content I have in my notes, but yeah, this is Brad Underwood doing the pivots that he's kind of honestly very good at doing. And that's just kind of seeing ahead and being a little bit more efficient. Playing that, I know you guys hate this term, that money ball type of game. I'll dive deeper into that a little bit later. Schlagboy says the guys that call the games are going to hate this team, not just them. I'm so incredibly bad with names, so we'll see. Jay says, highly doubt this dude is 6'3". I mean, I've seen, for the most part, it seems 6'3". I wouldn't believe anything older than that or higher, taller than that. But keep in mind, just because Kylan is 6'3", he doesn't play 6'3". That's a bulky guy. He's got that hefty Samoan body. So, you know, I think you do have some pretty decent size in the back. Divine says, I think Kylan will be considered the 2 now, to be honest. Divine, you might be it. You might be right. You know, again, once I dig a little deeper into this, I'll see what I decide. Autistic Berserker, nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Says, yeah, Petrovic is a point guard. Jason says, who's the leading recruiter for these overseas players? See, Jason, the cool thing about this, one of the great jobs Brad Underwood has done is we've got 2 guys, right? It's Orlando Antigua who had the connection to the Visic family, but it's also Jeff Alexander who brought in Kasper Jonas. And, he's the one who's building most of the pipeline out there in Europe. But us Illini fans, we're very lucky. We're very blessed that we have two absolutely ace international recruiters on our coaching staff. And you're kind of seeing it with the kind of talent that we're bringing in. Let's see if we got anything else. Tim says, hopefully we get Andrej. I agree. Jason says, I spent too much money on Red Bulls. I need to look into this Monarch money. Absolutely, Jason. Make sure you use our code. Tim says, looks like we're still the front runner for Andrej. Absolutely. Schlagboy says, I wish they could land a freak athlete. Yeah, we definitely need one. I just don't know if we have the roster spots for it. When it comes to big men, you're talking about the Visic brothers, then you're talking about Merkovich, and you still have Jason Jackstis. I still don't know what's going on with Ben Humrickhouse. We're going to probably find out for sure tonight, because tonight, meaning Tuesday night. I don't know when you guys are watching this on YouTube or listening to this on a podcast. It's the transfer portal deadline. So if you want to be in the transfer portal, you have to file the paperwork by 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday, April 22nd. You don't have to pick a team, but you at least have to enter the transfer portal by then. Philip says 2-year plan. Yeah, I mean, Petrovic, Mitrovic, and maybe Zavonimir could be guys that could be, big part of your team next year. And Ty Rodgers, depending on how he plays. Kenya says, I'm still not sold on the toughness of Euro players. Time will tell. Yeah, I mean, I don't really agree. I saw Andres Nocioni. That's a callback to you guys who are as old as I am on the Bulls. I think Tomislav is a tough player. I just don't think he was physically strong enough. But, you saw with him at the end of that Indiana game. We'll see. I think this is one of those where I'm not really worried about the toughness. It is the athleticism, which absolutely is a concern for me. Jason says everything at this point is year to year. Absolutely. Dave says Brad can only close the deal on foreign players. Dave, as long as they can ball, that's the only thing that matters to me. All right. Anything else? Stoney says Kylan is a high-level point guard. Make no mistake. Yeah. Again, I think senior year, Kylan Boswell can be potentially an all Big Ten. Look, Braden Smith is going to be probably the conference player of the year, maybe the national player of the year. So the Big Ten conference, being all Big Ten at the point guard position is going to be a tough task. But Kylan in any other year would absolutely have that argument. Schlagboy says, agreed that Kylan needs someone to share the minutes with. Autistic Berserker says, I like Petrovic better than Miller, regardless of I agree with you, but I've already said that in the Discord, and I get called a homer. As silly as that sounds. But initial thoughts, I like what Petrovic brings to the team a little bit more than I like what Adam Miller brings, if that makes sense. Sure, absolutely, we could use the defensive side of Adam Miller, but I just think if they are the same size, if all of a sudden Petrovic does end up being 6 foot or 6'1", then that size might be a pretty big difference. But I like what I see from Petrovic right now. Philip says, change my mind, start Petrovic, Boswell, Stojakovic, Raj. Oh, yeah, we got to that earlier. All right, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. Again, big signing. Hopefully I can come back on and do another rapid reaction for you guys earlier. 96 likes. Can we get to 100 before I'm done? We have 248 people. Again, my name's Sunny Verma. I'm here all day, every day, covering Illini content. If you want to talk with other Illini fans, please join our Discord. That's basically going to be it tomorrow. I'm going to dive a little deeper into these players. I also have a Pat Bryant feature that I'm going to be working on. I've got basically his scouting report from an NFL draft expert. The NFL draft is only 2 days away, guys. So we got a lot of content here. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Help me out on my way to 3,000. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.